Welcome to UPIKE Coaches Show Week 6. I'm Alec Morgan, joined today by head football coach Corey Phipps. The Bears coming off a 40-20 loss to Georgetown. Coach, I'll let you just open it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Another tough loss for us, but playing an excellent team, great coach team by Chris Oliver and, traditional power in the NAI. But I think our guys really proved to themselves during some stretches there that they could compete with those guys, and we've had a great week of practice. So some positives that came out of a loss, absolutely.
We'll dive into some specifics in that game and kind of drill down on what you think was good, what you think was bad. But it's starting to feel like you guys are putting the pieces together slowly, but it's been not all at the same time. So pieces are coming together, but you're waiting for that eureka moment where it all comes together at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Our guys, if you look at the last 3 weeks, have played 3 teams that are combined 16-3, and there's some things we've learned from each one of those games, and we're hoping it's kind of like you get to the midterm here. We had midterms this past week, that we're at that midterm point of the semester where you can take all those things you learned on those various quizzes and exams and put it together to really put one together this week against the Patriots.
So some of the key points from that Georgetown game: Eli Sammons in his first collegiate start, 11 for 35, 117 yards and a touchdown, had a pair of interceptions. And what's your thoughts on his first start and how he performed?
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job checking us in and out of some run plays when the numbers were there. Our game plan was a little different than, really trying to throw it, 60, 70 times like we have in the first half of the season. And he did some good things. Obviously, he's got to clean some things up. I thought his eyes were about as big as my fists at times with his first start, but he's a kid with a lot of talent, a lot of upsize, and I think he's going to learn from it. We still got Xavier Malone coming back from the injury report, so you could see 2 quarterbacks this week, and you've got Lee still out there trying to nurse his ankle back. So we're excited about all 3 of those guys still, and the fact that we've got multiple quarterbacks that we can run. The entirety of our offensive scheme makes a big difference. So, but you can't take anything away from Georgetown. Their defensive structure and their defensive system really causes some problems for you, no matter what your scheme is. Triple option, throw the ball, pro style, whatever it is. But I thought there were some guys that really played well, and we ran the ball pretty well in the first half.
If there was, and I think I know the answer to this question, if there's one thing that still gives you heartburn about this game when somebody asks you about it in a month, what's that going to be?
Special teams. Really thought special teams cost us the ball game. If you look at it, we come out at halftime, we throw a 31-yard touchdown to a seam route to Braylon Barton. We pick 6 it with Obie Wilson, who you get to talk to a little bit here later. And both those guys really helped get us up and going.
And at that point, it's a one-possession ball game.
Yeah, it's 26-20. You force a punt, you're saying, okay, we're going to go down and score and go up by 1 right here and never look back. And we spent a lot of time working on our special teams and fielding punts this week. For those at home, it's kind of an interesting deal. They really try to punt a low punt through your return team, almost like a shotgun through a house, and just hope it ricochets off something. And that was the case, and we knew it, and we've got some ideas that we filed away. If you see that uniqueness again, what to do with it. So even coaches really dove in on Sunday and Monday and said, okay, schematically, how can we file this away as the answer to some of these things when you've got a punter who's going to punt it at about a 9-foot level through the middle of your team.
Which can be a challenge that they're not exactly prepared for, and it's kind of a unique challenge, like you said.
It is. You didn't know where it was going to go. I imagine that they're probably searching for a punter that can boom it, but if that's not the case, we've got some answers for that moving forward. So I think the coaches have grown from this last week. The players have grown from this last week. Sometimes that growing, you got to file away to the next time you see some of those same schematic issues, but there's some things that we're going to carry forward in this game as well.
Let's talk about one of the biggest highlights, in my opinion, and that was the defense. It was the best game of the season for the Bears in total tackles, sacks, tackle for loss, and interceptions, costing the Georgetown Tigers a total of 81 yards off the line of scrimmage with tackle for loss and sacks and interceptions, including that pick 6 we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Chris Elliott and our defensive staff, Mike Harris, Kamari Tinsley, and Nero Hawks did a great job of preparing our guys, and we had some answers for what they do, and thought it was really, really good to see our team, get some takeaways, and create some opportunities. So we got to take advantage of some of those a little bit more. But it's absolutely an awesome day for our defense.
And lastly, let's highlight Alex Sanders. He had an excellent game in this last week, 164 yards total, 116 on the ground and 48 yards, your best rushing game of the season. And like we said off air, the numbers were there for that.
Yeah, absolutely. They gave us a 5-man box, quite often 4 down linemen, 1 inside, Mike Backer, and we targeted those guys. Offensive line did a good job, and we just feel like we got to keep learning how to play good team football and run it a little bit better when we need to. But we're always proud of Alex. Think he's a great guy, great teammate. I think he'd like to have that punt return back. Yep. But outside of that, I think he's the kind of guy that we really want in this program.
Are you seeing long-term with Eli Sammons, and does that long-term plan include a lot more passes out of the backfield, or are you going to try to import him into the system of throwing it downfield?
Well, I think it really just depends on what they give you structurally in the secondary. Last week we knew we were going to take advantage of some things up front. This week it may be down the field, it may be in the box. We're not quite sure yet until we see what they come out in. We got a good idea based on the intelligence you get from previous game film. But the reality is they can come out there and say we're going to do something a little bit different based on their injury report or based on what they think they see in our structure. So, I think after that first series we'll have a pretty good idea, pretty good beat if it's going to be a high-octane throw it around kind of night or a controlled and run at night.
Yeah, so we'll take a look at that touchdown catch. The pocket was built right off the bat for him. And then you talked about earlier in the game that same exact read was an interception.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The receiver bent it a little when he shouldn't have, and this time he kept it vertical, learned from his mistake, and there in the locker room at halftime, and really it was there, and it was a good job. So, there's a lot of routes that you convert based on the coverage, and that was one of those bender-type routes that either converts to a vertical seam or a bend route.
And he got it done for his second career touchdown. Well, that will wrap it up talking about Georgetown. Up next we'll be with Obie Wilson of the defense before we talk to Eli Sammons and, of course, wrap it up with Coach Phipps talking about Cumberland's in the week ahead. You're watching the UPIKE Coaches Show.
Who brought the sauce?
I brought the sauce.
Who made the sauce?
I made the sauce.
Okay.
Whoa, you want my sauce? Get your hands off my wall. I got the recipe. Hit 100 degrees.
Welcome back to the UPIKE Coaches Show. I'm Alec Morgan, joined here by defensive back Obie Wilson, a freshman from Beaufort, South Carolina. Thanks for joining us.
Nice. I'm glad to be here.
Obie, a big game in the last one against Georgetown. You had a 53-yard pick six on an awesome read. You kind of jumped the route. Do you remember that play, and what was your favorite part of it?
Honestly,
obviously scoring a touchdown, right?
Yeah, honestly, it just felt like a dream, honestly. Like, it didn't really feel like I was running the ball until I got into the end zone. It was just really one of those surreal moments.
So you guys come out of halftime and score to make it 26-13, and your pick six made it a one-possession game. And the following possession, you guys take away that muffed punt incident. That could have been a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
So do you feel like the defense is putting it all together?
At times, we do put it together, but it's still some things we got to, bring together. But all in all, we're coming together as a team, fighting for our coaches, fighting for each other.
And how do you feel like the defensive back core all together, like how have you guys evolved as a unit?
We have evolved. Coach Elliott is really hard on us. We're working on it. Day by day. We're just taking it day by day.
Yeah. So interceptions in that last game were a huge thing. You guys forcing a lot of turnovers. How do you build on that? And have you thought a lot about that heading into Cumberland's? What do you expect from the Patriots?
Hopefully we can just go out there and get more picks, honestly. Just perform for our defense, perform for our team.
What do you think the biggest point to look for you guys against the Patriots? Like, what's your scout coming into the week 6?
Honestly, just go out there. We watch film on them. We just got to go out there and play, have fun.
All right, man.
Ball out.
I appreciate you joining us. That was Obie Wilson. We'll be back with Eli Sammons here on the UPIKE Coaches Show.
So what we're looking at here is your area right here in your neck. We're identifying where you have subluxation. So what we're going to do is come to this side. We're going to come right here. Great adjustment. Right here. We're going to come in. Great adjustment. And right here. Great adjustment.
Welcome back to the UPIKE Coaches Show, Week 6. We are here with Eli Sammons coming off of his first career collegiate start. Eli, pretty solid performance, 11 for 35, 117 yards, a touchdown, and a pair of picks. He's a sophomore from Greenup, Kentucky. Your first collegiate start coming against number 13 Georgetown. It's homecoming game. You're at home in front of the home crowd. What was that like?
It was great. I mean, the atmosphere was great. Couldn't ask for anything better for my first collegiate start.
And how do you feel like that game, before we drill down into the specifics of it, do you feel like you developed a lot from that? Was it a learning experience?
I did. It was a great learning stone and, something to build off of. Main thing I really just got to work on moving forward is just, kind of become more comfortable earlier in the game and kind of just, play with the vibe in the game.
So you guys come out of the second half down 26-6, I believe, before the interception from Obie Wilson. After that interception, you drive it down the field. Your touchdown pass with 31-yarder to Braylon Barton, which was a great read. We sat down and break that play down, and I'll show it here on the show. That same exact play Phipps was talking was a pick earlier in the game.
Right.
Is that true?
Right.
Yeah, so, and I don't know, you could tell me if I'm wrong here, but I saw the DB kind of take a half step forward, and that's when I could see you made the decision to throw that ball.
Right.
And you couldn't put it too deep because you had your safety back there, and you put it right on the money. So I think that shows development even in a single game for you.
Right. So what we really wanted to work on that week was just seeing what the safeties was going to do. And in that moment right there, I mean, me and Braylon, we was on the same page. He kept it down the hash. That's where I was wanting to go with it, to where he ended up going with it. So, I mean, it's mainly just, being on the same page with the guys and just being able to execute.
Yeah, and I think the defense, we've talked a lot about how the defense put it together. How can the offense improve in terms of red zone efficiency? You guys are 59% in red zone situation. You've got to make those conversions because you guys were in that ball game. You guys were one possession away. Take away the muffed punt. That's a brand new ball game. You guys drive it down the field. How do you start taking advantage of those opportunities better?
Right. Mainly just capitalizing on opportunities. We've been coached all week and stuff, knowing if we get that close to the end zone, we got to be able to finish. We got to be able to put drives away and get in the end zone.
And Georgetown also, the Bears, least number of penalties and least number of penalty yards on the season. Do you guys feel like you're cleaning it up? Is that something you've talked about?
Right. That's one thing we've been coached on, and, our strength coach, Coach Friday, does a great job. He's been on us talking about details, trying to make sure everything matters, especially in big games. The little stuff, that's what can get you beat, and it's also help set you up to win a big game as well.
Yeah, it can set you up to succeed, absolutely. The devil's in the details, and that is absolutely correct, especially when you're going against solid teams in the Mid-South Conference. Speaking of Mid-South Conference, let's talk about the Patriots coming up. Patriots have lost 3 of their last 4. This is a winnable football game for you guys. Not that all of them haven't been this season, but you guys have an opportunity to go and bounce back after a solid performance at Georgetown. What are we looking for from the Patriots?
Mainly, we've been seeing what the looks and stuff like is going to be like all week. They're a very sound defense. Their new defense coordinator was Georgetown's old defense coordinator. Coach Phipps has a long history with him. I mean, we know what they're going to do. We just got to really go out and execute it.
And I was asking Coach Phipps a little bit, and he said it always depends on the defense. What do you favor in terms of tossing the ball down the field or finding those little pick routes from the backfield?
I think it's real just take what they give us. I mean, I'm a fan of just setting up the deep shots and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's Coach Phipps' call, and whatever he calls, it's my duty to execute and get it to our guys.
And I think the run game in that last game was the first time you guys really put it together on the ground. Alex Sanders had a fantastic game, which opened up a lot of those solid passing plays for you guys. Also, his routes coming out of the backfield. So I feel like you guys could be a good team. And I think once you take advantage of those things, like I told Phipps earlier in the day, you guys are putting it all together at different times and waiting for that moment where it all comes together at the same time, defensively and offensively.
Right.
How far away do you think you are from that, or is it just a matter of when that's going to happen?
I think really it's just a matter of us, finding that little groove between each other and, just sticking to it and finally just find that balance between just good team play, all-around good team play.
All right, well, we appreciate you having on, man.
Sir. Thank you for having me.
Good luck against Cumberland's.
Thank you.
And that'll do it for Eli Sammons. We will talk to Coach Phipps about the Patriots coming up here on the UPIKE Coaches Show. We're back with Coach Phipps here on the UPIKE Coaches Show, Week 6, and we're turning our attention towards the Patriots. Patriots lost 3 of their last 4 games. You guys had one of your better games against Georgetown. Yes, it was a loss, but a lot of key things developed in that game. We talked a lot about that. What's your initial thoughts headed into the Patriots?
Well, I really feel like it's 2 equally matched teams in terms of your talent and skill set, and also probably equally matched that we're both searching for some answers at some key positions and trying to get our kids on the right track. I think Shan Housekeeper, longtime defense coordinator at Georgetown, first year as a head coach, trying to establish his culture and his norms. Here we're 15 months in, still trying to do some of those same things. So we're excited to get down there and play. It's always a great atmosphere down there at UC. I think there's not much to do there in Williamsburg, so I think coming out to the football game is a big deal on a Saturday. So we're excited to get down there, and your former employer, right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I know you'd like this win just as much as we would. So
absolutely,
we're excited to do that. I think schematically, we match up very well with them, and I think they do some things that match up well with some of the things we do. So I think it should be a good game. We're really excited about it.
Cumberland's has had a lot of bright spots this season, but right now they are bottom of the conference, averaging 21 points a game, and opponents have had success limiting them through the air. They're averaging just 161 passing yards per game. So that DB play that's been so great lately against Georgetown, that's got to carry over into Week 6, don't you think?
Yeah, I do, and I think the biggest thing is we've got to play well on the road. That's something we've struggled at so far this year, so there is an art to traveling. There's an art to getting on the road and being in adverse situations and being able to overcome that. So outside of scheme, I think that's the big thing, is just figuring out when their crowd's louder than your 55, 60 guys on the sideline, how do you get yourself in a motivated situation. Now we're hoping our fans will travel well. It's not a real long trip, no good way to get there from here, but it isn't a real long trip. So we're hoping our folks travel well with us and help support us as well.
Straight up the Mountain Parkway, and we'll see you in Williamsburg, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I like that.
So schematically, you guys say it's a pretty good matchup for you guys.
Yeah.
You guys feel like you can go in and be competitive. Other than the mental part of being in a different stadium, what's the hardest part about winning on the road? And is it one of those things like a team's got to learn how to win? You hear people say that all the time. Is that kind of the same?
I think basketball teams, do a really good job with it because, they play 30-plus games and half of them are on the road and they go to these tournaments and their kids are just used to it. And I think football is such a strange deal that, you only do it 5 times a year. You only play 10 altogether, or 11 maybe, and, if you make it to the playoffs, a few more. But I just think your kids, it's just different. It's different atmosphere. It's different environment. It's a different locker room. Trying to teach kids how to mentally prepare in the locker room, I think, has been a big thing for us, and we did much better last week. So I also think, just the logistics of taking a travel party of 80 to 100 people and charter buses and box vans and getting the sideline set up. There's just a lot more to it than I think people understand. When you're not a Division I school with support staff of 75, everybody's got to do it from the head coach down to the graduate assistant. So it's just a whole different game.
How many guys travel with you guys?
Yeah, we travel. We try to travel 65 guys. We try to dress about 80. We've got about 40 red shirts in the program. Dress 80 for a home game, about 65 for a road game.
So what's the biggest challenge in managing all that? Is it the food? Is it the lodging? Is it the driving?
Yes. Yes. It's all of it. But, you schedule your charter buses out back in February. You get your hotels back in February. You start working on your meals, over the summer. There's a lot to it. Most of it's pretty seamless, but it is a production. And, sometimes like in a situation like this, where do you eat pregame meal? Between here and there's nothing. So really you got to eat in London or Corbin or someplace right there. All the logistics, you want to eat 3 hours before kickoff. You want to, make sure you're at the stadium 2 hours and 15 minutes before kickoff. When you tape, when you do treatment, when you warm up that shoulder with a hot pack, there's just all those little things. That's why we bring 2-3 trainers and a couple of their, scholarship assistants with them and things like that. So it is a production.
I think that's a lot of stuff that people don't consider when they think about a football team going on the road. It's like, okay, well, we see them leave and then they start playing on Saturday. There is so many steps in between there that have a lot to do with how you perform.
Yeah, they do. They do. And just getting kids to understand that, especially when you're young. You got a bunch of high school guys who've, one, never stayed in a hotel, two, have never gone very far but on a yellow dog bus, to play their crosstown rival, and a far trip might be an hour and a half. And now you're talking about going to Alabama and staying overnight and all those things. So, I think it's the teams that really do it well are the teams that have some veterans to help pull along the young guys and those things and not oversleep for meetings and such. So it's a little different ball game. That's part of what I like. It's part of the reason I don't want to coach high school is, I like the challenge of going on the road and the band playing into your snap count when they're supposed to, and the PA guy, playing the music into your snap count when they're not supposed to, or, getting ruckus and loud and boos and hisses and this is just at the small college level. Could you imagine going into Death Valley at LSU or someplace like that? So I know sometimes, it's hard to hear yourself think it's one of our stadiums in the Mid-South, so let alone, one of those places.
So, not to bring up a sore subject, last season you guys fired out to a 21-0 lead against the Patriots.
Yep.
And this was one of the things that you probably look back on and then think, well, we should have had that game, and absolutely right. Have you had that conversation at all, or is that just, we're going into this?
Oh, I can't remember if we had it once or 1,000 times in this last 12 months. So, it's a topic of discussion.
So what are you most excited about to see the Patriots? Is it the passing game? Is it your defense's development? Is it the offensive line? What's the one thing
I think what I'm most excited about is to see our culture continue to develop. I talked to the guys a little bit. I said, hey, listen, the situation is that we were such programmed and created in a way that you don't really remember pain. You don't really remember the bad things. All you're searching for is your next meal. As a hunter-gatherer, the next thing you're looking for is the next kill, the next hunt. And I said, so if you're looking in a rearview mirror, then you don't have the same DNA as the rest of us in this program. And I said, if women remembered how rough childbirth was and how many sleepless nights there were in the first year, everybody'd have one child. My wife has 3, okay? So Coach Elliott's wife has 3. So I told these guys, we got to forget the pain of the last 3 weeks, learn from it, but forget the pain and move on and find our next kill on our next hunt.
And we look forward to those pieces hopefully coming together. Coach, good luck on the road this week.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching UPIKE Coaches Show Week 6. We'll see you on Saturday.